The weight of my duffel bag cuts into my shoulder as I fumble with the house key. 3 weeks of caring for Aunt Clara has left me bone-tired muscles, aching in places I didn't know could ache. All I want is Milo's warm welcome, his golden fur against my hand, his ridiculous whole-body wiggle that makes everything right in the world. I push the door open, expecting the familiar thunder of paws against hardwood, the joyful barking that announces my homecoming. Silence. Milo? My voice echoes in the empty entryway as I set down my bags. Hey buddy, where are you? The house feels wrong too still. Too quiet. My stomach tightens as I move toward the living room. Mom and Dad sit stiffly on the couch like they're posing for a church directory photo. Dad's fingers drum against his knee while Mom's smile stretches too thin across her face. Welcome home, Mom says, but her eyes dart away from mine. Where's Milo? The question comes out sharper than I intended. Dad clears his throat. Riley, we need to talk. I stand frozen in the doorway. Where's my dog? We sold him, Dad says flatly. Got $250 from a family in Flagstaff. The room tilts beneath my feet. My knees nearly buckle as the words sink in. You what? It was for the best, Mom adds quickly. He was destructive, Riley. Scratched at the back door, shed everywhere. My mind flashes back to 9 months ago's rescue shelter with its concrete floors and chain-link kennels. The golden lab with soulful eyes who'd pressed against the fence when I approached, as if he'd been waiting specifically for me. You chose me, I'd whispered, fingers threading through the fence to touch his soft muzzle. Dad had exploded when I brought Milo home that night. You live under our roof. You don't make these decisions. Mom had added, if you want a pet, get your own place. But I'd fought for him, worked 2 jobs to cover his expenses. Nights at the gas station after morning shifts at the office. Coming home to Milo's gentle head on my knee while I studied, his warmth at my feet as I slept, his patient eyes as I taught him to sit, stay, shake his eagerness to please, to connect. The one living thing that had never looked at me with disappointment. You had no right, I whisper, throat closing around the words. You left him with us for 3 weeks, Dad counters, voice rising. What did you expect? 3 weeks ago, the call had come about Aunt Clara's fall. Her broken hip, the surgery, someone needed to help during recovery. My cousins all had excuses. I had none except for Milo. I'd called every boarding facility within 50 miles. All booked solid for spring break. Friends with pets of their own couldn't take him. In desperation, I'd approached my parents with detailed care instructions. Feeding schedule, medication times, walking routes, even his favorite toys. I'll pay you, I'd said, pushing $40 per day across the kitchen table. Please, it's just for 3 weeks. Mom had sighed dramatically before pocketing the money. Fine, but just this once. My daily calls from New Mexico had been met with increasingly clipped responses. He's fine, Riley. Stop worrying about the dog. We're busy. Call tomorrow. The final week complete silence. Call straight to voicemail. I should have known. Give me their contact information, I demand, hands trembling. The people who bought him. Mom and Dad exchange glances. We don't have it, Dad says, not meeting my eyes. You sold my dog to strangers and didn't keep their information? My voice rises, breaking over the words. It was a cash transaction, Dad mutters. They seemed like nice people. I back away from them, rage and grief colliding in my chest. I'll find him myself. I wait until their bedroom door closes for the night. Then I power up Dad's computer, fingers clicking quietly through his email. The trash folder holds what I need. Correspondence with the buyers, their gratitude, their address in Tucson, not Flagstaff. The liars couldn't even keep their story straight. I move silently through the darkened house, gathering essentials. Clothes, savings account book, Milo's leash. Every item goes into my suitcase with precise, controlled movements while my heart hammers against my ribs. Dawn hasn't broken when I roll my suitcase past the kitchen where Dad stands in his bathrobe, coffee mug halfway to his mouth. Where do you think you're going? He asks, voice hovering between concern and annoyance. I meet his eyes, car keys clutched in my hand. To find my dog. Interstate lights blur into streams as I drive through the night, my headlights cutting a narrow path through darkness. Tucson waits at the end of this 5-hour journey, and somewhere in that city, Milo does too. My fingers grip the steering wheel until they ache. I'll find you, I whisper into the empty car. I promise. The words hang in the air, a vow and a prayer. Tears stream down my face, but I don't wipe them away. Let them fall. I've earned them. My thoughts tumble into memories. Milo curled against me during thunderstorms. His gentle nudge when I studied too long without breaks. The way he'd position himself between me and the door whenever Dad's voice rose. He protected me. Now it's my turn. They had no right, I say aloud, voice cracking against the steady hum of tires on asphalt. No goddamn right. The digital clock flicks to 5:07 a.m. as I pull onto the quiet suburban street. The address from Dad's email belongs to a modest ranch-style house with blue trim and a basketball hoop in the driveway. I park across the street, engine ticking as it cools. Sleep comes in fitful bursts, my body jerking awake at every passing car, every door that slams in the neighborhood. I watch the house through half-lidded eyes as morning arrives. A newspaper lands on the driveway, lights flick on inside. A man in a bathrobe retrieves the paper, glancing curiously at my car before disappearing back inside. 9 o'clock, 10, 11. My courage builds with each passing hour as my leg bounces against the floorboard. At noon, I splash water on my face from a bottle in the back seat, smooth down my wrinkled shirt, and cross the street. The concrete path to their door might as well be a mile long. My finger hovers over the doorbell, trembling. The chime echoes inside. The door swings open to reveal a woman about my age, with a toddler balanced on her hip. The little girl wears mismatched socks and clutches a plastic dinosaur. Can I help you? The woman Angela. According to Dad's email shifts, the child higher on her hip. My name is Riley Anderson. The practiced words suddenly stick in my throat. I believe you. You bought my dog. Her eyebrows knit together. Your dog? Golden Lab. 9 months old. My father sold him to you last week. The toddler drops her dinosaur, whining softly until Angela stoops to retrieve it. When she listens, her expression has changed. You're the owner? Her voice softens. Your father said they were downsizing, that they couldn't keep pets anymore. My laugh comes out bitter. That's not true. I was taking care of my aunt after surgery. I paid them to watch him while I was gone. Oh my God. Her face pales. She steps back, gesturing me inside. Come in, please. The house smells of coffee and crayons. Toys litter the living room floor, a landscape of primary colors against beige carpet. Jason, Angela calls toward the back of the house. Can you take Emma for a minute? A man appears, lifting the toddler with practiced ease. He nods at me, curious but not unwelcoming, before carrying the little girl down a hallway. I'm so sorry, Angela says once we're alone. Your father seemed convincing. We never would have. She stops, shaking her head. He's out back. Would you like to see him? My heart pounds as she leads me through the kitchen to a sliding glass door. The backyard stretches green and fenced, dotted with children's toys and a plastic wading pool. And there, beneath an oak tree, golden fur catching sunlight, Milo. Milo, I breathe, the name barely audible. His head snaps up, ears perked. He freezes, staring at me across the yard as if he can't believe what he's seeing. Milo, I call again, louder. He bolts toward me, a golden streak across the grass. His entire body vibrates with joy as he slams into my legs, nearly knocking me over. I drop to my knees, burying my face in his fur as he whimpers and licks every inch of skin he can reach. I found you, I whisper against his neck. I found you. For the first time in weeks, I breathe fully, deeply, the weight lifting from my chest. Milo wriggles against me, his tail a metronome of happiness. Angela stands back, giving us space. We finally look up, Her eyes glisten with tears. I have the money, I say, reaching for my wallet. The $250 you paid plus. I added extra for taking good care of him. She accepts the folded bills reluctantly. He's a wonderful dog. While I clip Milo's leash to his collar, Angela kneels to explain to her daughter, now back in the kitchen. The little girl's face crumples in confusion, tiny fingers reaching toward Milo. Doggy go? Yes, sweetie, the doggy's going home with his real family. The drive away from Tucson passes in silence. Milo's head heavy on my lap as I stroke his ears. Only when the city disappears in my rearview mirror does reality crash into me. I have nowhere to go. Night falls as we drive, stars pricking the sky one by one. My bank account holds enough for maybe 2 weeks of motel rooms. My apartment lease won't allow me back without my parents' co-signature. I pull into a roadside motel that advertises pets welcome in flickering neon. The room smells of industrial cleaner and cigarettes, but Milo doesn't seem to care. He circles the strange space, sniffing corners before curling protectively around me on the sagging mattress. My fingers tangle in his fur as darkness settles. I have $400, a suitcase of clothes, and a golden lab who breathes steadily against me. It's everything I need. It's nothing at all. My last $20 buys Milo dinner and leaves nothing for mine. I watch him eat from the plastic dish on the motel floor, his tail swishing against the worn carpet. 3 weeks since I retrieved him from Tucson, and my savings account has dwindled to double digits. The motel manager gave me until tomorrow. We'll figure something out, buddy. My stomach growls as I scratch behind his ears. He looks up, eyes liquid with trust that twists my heart. The phone rings 4 times before Amber answers. My oldest friend since 5th grade, the one person who might not hang up. I need a place to crash. The words scrape my throat raw. Just for a few days. The silence stretches so long I think she's hung up. You still have that dog? Her voice drops to a whisper. Rick's allergic. I'll keep him outside. Please, Amber. Another pause. 3 days max. And the dog stays in your car. Night temperatures still dip into the 40s. I nearly refuse, but my credit card maxed out yesterday. Thanks. I'll be there in an hour. Milo sleeps in the Civic for 2 nights, bundled in every blanket I own while I curl on Amber's sofa. The 3rd morning, Rick's pointed glances at his watch tell me the couch is needed elsewhere. I walk Milo before dawn, letting him stretch his legs while planning our next move. Applications submitted to 17 apartments, all requiring deposits, pet fees, excellent credit, none calling back. We need income, I whisper against Milo's fur. Then shelter. The coffee shop hires me on the spot. $5 an hour plus tips for the morning shift. Not enough, but a start. That night, the loading dock at Wagner Distribution takes me on for evening work. $10 an hour, under the table. The foreman eyes my slender frame. You sure you're up for this? Those boxes aren't feathers. I hoist a 50-pound carton to shoulder height. I'm stronger than I look. Between shifts, I sleep in the car with Milo. 30-minute naps in parking lots. His warm body curled against mine, my only constant in a world gone sideways. We develop a rhythm. Park behind the coffee shop at 5 a.m. Work until 1 p.m. Nap until my 6 p.m. dock shift. Work until 2 a.m. Find a safe place to park, sleep, repeat. Days blur. Muscles scream. The car fills with the sweet-sour smell of unwashed human and dog. Once a week, we splurge on a motel room just to shower. At the grocery store, I count pennies while comparing dog food prices. The premium brand costs double the generic, but Milo's had stomach issues since Tucson. I return the apple I grabbed for myself and buy his food instead. 6 weeks into this half-life, a wrinkled index card on the coffee shop bulletin board catches my eye. Room for rent. $300 month. Utilities included. The address leads to a craftsman-style house with peeling paint but intact windows. A gray-haired woman opens the door before I knock, her eyes narrowing at Milo sitting patiently beside me. Ad didn't say anything about pets. Her mouth puckers like she's tasted something sour. He's quiet, housebroken. I'll pay extra. She studies us both. How much extra? $60. Her eyes soften slightly. You're living in your car, aren't you? The truth sticks in my throat, but I nod. First and last month up front, and the dog stays off the furniture. The room barely fits a twin mattress. One small window looks out at the neighbor's brick wall. The closet door hangs from a single hinge. But it has a lock, a ceiling fan, and most importantly, a floor where Milo can sleep beside me. That first night, we both circle the space cautiously. Milo sniffs every corner before settling at the foot of my mattress, his body curved protectively around my feet. I stare at the unfamiliar ceiling, listening to his steady breathing. We made it, I whisper. For the first time, I sleep until morning. Our ritual becomes sunrise walks around the neighborhood, coffee shop at dawn, quick meal from my lunch cooler, loading dock at dusk, late dinner together in our tiny room. Exhaustion becomes normal. The ache in my shoulders a constant companion. But Milo's food bowl stays full, and the roof stays over our heads. The receptionist position at Tri-State Logistics pays $3 more per hour than the coffee shop. I wear my only decent outfit to the interview, picking dog hair off the sleeves in the parking lot. You have customer service experience? The HR woman eyes my resume. 2 years at Starbucks during college. I don't mention the last 6 weeks. I'm organized, detail-oriented, and I learn quickly. A week later, I turn in my coffee shop apron. 1 full-time job instead of 2 part-time ones means regular hours, benefits, and most precious of all, time with Milo that isn't spent half asleep. James from accounting stops by my desk the 3rd week. Tall, with salt and pepper at his temples despite being only 35. There's dog hair on your sweater. He points to my sleeve with a slight smile. Golden retriever? Lab mix, I say cautiously. How did you know? I've got a beagle named Daisy. He pulls out his phone to show me a picture of a tricolored dog with enormous ears. Rescue? Yes, 9 months ago. His smile broadens. Daisy's been with me 3 years. Best decision I ever made. The next day, he appears with coffee. Break room's empty if you want to join me. Over bitter office coffee, we swap adoption stories. I tell him about the shelter visit, carefully omitting the betrayal and homelessness that followed. Our conversations continue over weeks. Coffee breaks extending longer each time. His eyes stay kind when I stumble over parts of my story. One Friday, he asks, "Would you and Milo like to meet Daisy? There's a dog park near my place." That Sunday, Milo and Daisy circle each other, tails wagging tentatively before racing off together across the grass. I watch them play while James stands beside me. "You know, you never said how you ended up at that shelter 9 months ago," he says quietly. Something in his voice, the absence of judgment, loosens the knot in my chest. It's a long story. I've got time. His shoulder touches mine, solid, warm. So, I tell him. About the aunt, the 3 weeks away, the empty house. The parents who sold my dog, who betrayed my trust for $250. James doesn't interrupt. When I finish, his face darkens with genuine anger. That's unforgivable. The simple validation nearly breaks me. My eyes burn as I watch Milo bound back to us, joyful and alive, unaware how close we came to losing each other forever. "You found him anyway," James says. That's what matters. For the first time in months, I laugh a real laugh that bubbles up from somewhere I thought had dried up permanently. Yeah, we found each other. As we leave the park, he brushes his hand against mine. Same time next weekend? Milo and Daisy race ahead of us on the path, already friends. I take James's outstretched hand. Same time. The Facebook notification pings while I'm loading the dishwasher. 7 years of blessed silence from my parents, and now a message icon glows beside my mother's name. My hands freeze, water dripping onto the kitchen floor. It takes 3 tries to tap the screen with suddenly clumsy fingers. We saw the kids in Lisa's photos. They're beautiful. We'd like to meet our grandchildren. My lungs forget how to work. The room shrinks around me, walls pressing in as my heart hammers against my ribs. Cousin Lisa, family photographer, who apparently hasn't honored my privacy settings request. Riley? James appears in the doorway, dish towel in hand. You okay? You look like you've seen a ghost. The phone slips from my fingers, clattering on the counter. They found us. For 3 days, the message hovers over our home like storm clouds. I catch myself checking my phone at odd hours, scrolling through the brief text as if the words might rearrange themselves into something less threatening. Milo, now gray-muzzled and arthritic, senses my distress and refuses to leave my side. You don't have to answer, James says on the 3rd night, his hand warm against my shoulder. Yes, I do. My voice sounds hollow in our darkened bedroom. If I don't, they might just show up. My carefully crafted response takes an hour to write, delete, and rewrite. I'd prefer to talk by phone before discussing any meetings. Tuesday, 7 p.m. No pleasantries, no excess words they could misinterpret as eagerness. Tuesday evening arrives with the weight of a funeral. The children are tucked safely at James's mother's house. I've rehearsed what to say, practiced maintaining boundaries without hostility. James sets his laptop on the kitchen table, ready to work but within earshot if I need him. My father answers on the first ring. Riley, we were beginning to think you'd never respond. It's good to hear your voice, my mother chimes in, her tone candy sweet. Tell us about the children. Caleb must be, 5 now, and little Nora? I offer minimal details, waiting for the real conversation to begin. It takes exactly 6 minutes. You know, we've been very patient, Mother says, her voice shifting from syrup to vinegar. Most grandparents wouldn't wait years to meet their own flesh and blood. You left us no choice about the dog, Father adds, as if reading from a script they've rehearsed. You shouldn't have expected us to care for your pet for 3 weeks. We had lives too. His name is Milo, I say, the old anger flaring hot beneath my breastbone, and he's been with me for over a decade now. A pause, then Mother's voice drops into the register she used when I was a child and had disappointed her. Really, Riley? Still holding on to that grudge after all this time? You have children now. That changes things. We have a right to know our grandchildren, Father declares, the familiar edge of command in his voice sending ice down my spine. Your mother knits them blankets every Christmas, did you know that? Christmas with presents they never receive. I press my palm flat against the counter, steadying myself against the wave of guilt. James looks concerned, but I shake my head slightly. I'm not ready for this, I finally say, each word deliberate and quiet. Father's voice rises instantly. Not ready? You've had 7 years. We've been more than patient. Mother's calculated sniffling begins. If you won't be reasonable, we have options too. We can pursue grandparent rights, the courts recognize. The word courts hits like a physical blow. I set the phone down, ending the call mid-sentence. The kitchen falls silent except for the hum of the refrigerator and my ragged breathing. James is beside me in an instant, arms encircling me without words. Milo whines softly, pressing his graying muzzle against my leg. Within the hour, I've blocked them on every platform. Urgent texts fly to family members Lisa, Aunt Clara, cousins requesting no photos or information about our children be shared. James doesn't question my frantic energy as I create private accounts for the kids' school photos. The next morning, James installs additional security cameras while I make calls to our family lawyer just in case. Milo shadows me from room to room, his arthritic gait unable to keep him from his self-appointed guardianship. At night, after tucking dinosaur sheets around Caleb and kissing Nora's forehead beneath her mobile of butterflies, I sit alone in our darkened living room. Milo's heavy head settles on my lap, his brown eyes reflecting the same steadfast devotion that saved me once before. We'll be okay, I whisper, more to convince myself than him. They can't take this from us. but my hand trembles as I stroke his fur, and the tears I've held back all day finally fall. The brown box sits on my kitchen counter, return address unfamiliar but postmarked from my hometown. No announcement preceded it, no warning call. My fingers hesitate on the packing tape, half expecting legal papers inside some new angle on the grandparent rights threat. James watches from across the room, arms folded. Want me to open it? No. I grab scissors and slice through the tape in one decisive cut. Inside, beneath layers of tissue paper, lies fabric soft blues and golds folded with precision. As I lift it, the quilt unfurls like a flag of surrender. Golden retrievers dance across meticulously stitched squares, one unmistakably my loath white chest patch, the slightly bent left ear. My breath catches. A plain white card flutters to the floor. James picks it up, reads aloud. Freely, no strings attached. I run my fingers over the tiny stitches. Hundreds of hours of work. My mother's arthritis must have screamed through every inch of this. The detail in Milo's eye as she captured the exact amber brown. The careful reproduction of his collar. She remembered his collar. I whisper, throat tight. A tear hits the quilt before I realize I'm crying. Stupid, unwelcome tears. I swipe them away, angry at my own weakness. Are we responding? James asks 3 days later, coffee mug suspended halfway to his lips. The quilt now drapes across our couch. The children have claimed it already, Caleb building forts beneath it, Nora pointing to each dog saying Milo, 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 though she never met him. I think we should acknowledge it, I say. No invitations, just acknowledgement. That evening, I select one photo from my phone, Milo, sprawled on the playroom floor, Caleb using him as a pillow, Nora's tiny hand buried in his fur. I print it right on the back. Thank you for the quilt. It's beautiful. No signature needed. James drops the envelope in the mailbox on his way to work. The simple act of response lifts something inside me, like setting down a heavy suitcase I've carried for miles. 2 weeks pass. Then 4. No barrage of calls, no ambush visits. For the first time in years, I think of my parents without my stomach twisting. The letter arrives on a Thursday. Dad's handwriting on the envelope, still the same perfect cursive from years of drafting architectural plans. 3 full pages inside, blue ink pressed deep into the paper like he had to force each word through a barrier. I take it to our bedroom, close the door. Milo rests at my feet as I sit on the edge of the bed, hands trembling slightly. The first line hits like a physical blow. We didn't just sell your dog. We betrayed your trust. We punished you. And I'm so sorry. My father has never apologized to me. Not once in 28 years. I read the words again, testing them like pressing on a bruise to see if it still hurts. He writes of therapy sessions that your mother insisted on after their grandparent rights threat backfired spectacularly. Of a counselor who asked questions no one had ever dared ask Larry Anderson. Of uncomfortable realizations that kept him awake for weeks. I was jealous of your relationship with that dog. That sounds insane written out. A grown man jealous of his daughter's attachment to an animal. But you looked at him with such trust. You never looked at me that way, not since you were very small. He confesses to deliberate cruelty, how they planned it while I was gone, how they'd interviewed 3 families before choosing one far enough away. We told ourselves we were teaching you responsibility. The truth was uglier. We wanted to hurt you like we felt hurt when you chose something else over us. The letter ends without requests. No plea to see the children, no bid for forgiveness. Just truth finally spoken after a decade of silence. I read it 4 times. Each reading stings less than the one before. Our first video call happens on a Sunday afternoon. The children dart in and out of frame, curious but not commanded to perform. My mother asks about James's promotion. My father inquires about our garden. 20 minutes in, Dad clears his throat. How's Milo doing? He must be getting up there in years. The question isn't performance. He remembered Milo's age. He acknowledged him as a continuing presence in our lives. Arthritis in his back legs, I answer. Still enjoys his morning walks, just shorter ones now. We arrange to meet at Patterson Park the following month, neutral ground, 1 hour. They ask permission before sending small gifts for the children's birthdays. They call ahead before every contact. At our third park meeting, Milo comes along. My father kneels despite his bad knee, offers his hand palm up for sniffing. Milo, who never forgot a cent in his life, examines him carefully before giving a single tail wag, not forgiveness, exactly, but acknowledgement. We're building something I never expected, not the restoration of what was broken, but something new constructed from honest materials. It resembles respect more than traditional family bonds. My boundaries remain firm, their navigation careful. He saved me. I tell them one afternoon, watching Milo doze in a patch of sun. Not just when you sold him, every day after. My mother nods, eyes damp. My father stares at his hands. Some wounds never fully heal, but they can transform into something else, a scar that maps the journey, a reminder of what was lost and what was found along the way. The gray in Milo's muzzle catches the morning light. 10 years and 8 months old now, he moves with the deliberate caution of a senior statesman. His golden coat has dulled with age, but his eyes still flash with recognition when I enter a room. "Come on, old man," I whisper, helping him navigate the 3 porch steps. What once took seconds now requires a full minute of careful maneuvering. Our walks have shortened from 3 miles to 1, then to just the length of our street. The orange prescription bottles line our kitchen counter like tiny soldiers. Rimadyl for arthritis and Elapril for his heart, supplements for his kidneys. James jokes that Milo has better health care than most humans. Caleb, now 7, has taken to reading Milo's pill schedule aloud each morning. 5-year-old Nora insists on refilling his water bowl, standing on tiptoes to reach the sink. They've absorbed these rituals of care without complaint, watching me measure doses with the precision of a pharmacist. The unexpected happened 3 months ago. Dad volunteered to drive us to Milo's cardiology appointment when James couldn't get off work. Mom has started bringing homemade dog biscuits without gluten or preservatives. Small offerings accepted with cautious gratitude. Then comes the Tuesday when Milo refuses breakfast. His water bowl sits untouched all day. By evening, he lacks the strength to lift his head when I call his name. James finds me on the kitchen floor at midnight, phone in hand, Milo's head in my lap. "It's time, isn't it?" he asks, joining us on the cold tile. I nod, unable to form words. We gather in family council the next morning. Caleb's face crumples when I explain, but he nods with solemn understanding. Nora asks if dogs go to heaven, and I tell her the truth that love like Milo's can't simply disappear. The vet arrives at 3 o'clock on a perfect autumn afternoon. Golden light filters through our living room windows as we arrange ourselves around Milo on his favorite blanket, the faded blue one that still smells faintly of the motel where we lived after I found him in Tucson. Daisy lies unusually still beside him, her muzzle touching his paw. James sits cross-legged with Nora in his lap. Caleb positions himself at Milo's tail, one hand resting gently on his back. I cradle his head as the vet explains each step with gentle clarity. "He won't feel pain," she assures us. "Just peace." Milo's eyes find mine one last time, the same soulful gaze that chose me at the shelter 11 years ago. His breathing slows, then stops completely. The silence afterward feels absolute, sacred. The knock on our door the next morning reveals my parents standing awkwardly on the porch. Dad carries a small wooden box, hand-carved with paw prints along the edges. "For his collar," he says simply, passing it to me. "And anything else you want to keep." Mom moves silently to our kitchen, unpacking containers of lasagna, roasted chicken, fresh rolls. Dad takes the children to the park without being asked, giving me space to shatter in private. That evening, as we gather around the dinner table, Mom reaches across and takes my hand, our first genuine touch in more than a decade. "Tell me about him," she says. "What was he like when you first found him?" The stories spill out between bites. Milo's absolute terror of the vacuum cleaner, his habit of hiding socks under the couch, how he'd swim in any puddle larger than a dinner plate. Dad's unexpected laughter breaks through our tears when James describes Milo's hatred of the mailman's particular walking rhythm. 2 weeks later, I still wake to phantom sounds, the click of nails on hardwood, the jingle of his collar. I find Caleb placing dandelions beneath the maple tree, where Milo loved to nap. Daisy sniffs each room before settling, searching for her missing friend. The quilt Mom made hangs now in our living room, its stitched golden lab eternally frozen in mid-play. Each year on Milo's adoption day, we make donations to the shelter where I found him. It took losing Milo to understand how much love can come from unexpected places and how betrayal can come from those closest to you. Healing doesn't always mean forgetting. Sometimes it just means building something new from what remains.